Alright, dear students, I hope you're all doing well. So today we are going to talk about functions. Let's go to the code and start with the coding. So right now I have an include iostream using namespace standard library and integer main return 0. Oops, this should be after this. Return system pose and return 0. Okay. Okay. So right now we will do a very simple program and we will convert it into functions and we will see the advantage of using functions. Okay. Okay. First of all, a function is like a type of modular programming we are going to apply on the C++. Modular programming means that I'm doing my job piece by piece. Okay, let's see the slides and after that we'll go to uh, the code. By the way, from the book, you can see 305 to 363. Okay, so breaking a program into smaller units is known as modular programming. Module means module by module, means part by part, piece by piece. Okay, these are known as module. Modular programming means they're like separating or distributing your whole program into separate different tasks, and each task is free to do its job, and these tasks are done using function. And what's function? A collection of statements, a collection of single, let's say, lines of C++ statements, I mean, to perform a specific task. So each function is I will create like each function for a specific task, and that function I will call that function, and that specific task will be done for me. Advantages of modular programming: simplifies the process of writing programs, improve debugging errors and stuff. Okay, so suppose that I have a program which is composed of, let's say this is I think 20 statements. So these are statements, these are maybe one line of code. So each of them is one line of code. Here, if I wanted to see or to read this program, I should go line by line to see what's going on from the beginning until the end. And I cannot see the big image here. I should go from the first thing to the last thing in order to understand it. So programmers try to make it into modules. So separating all these statements into some different modules. So let's say the first part, let's say three statements, the first three statements are doing one task. The second three statements are doing a next task. So what we are doing, we are separating these three statements under a name, function 2. So whenever I wanted this task, I'm just going to call the name of this bunch. Just like we said, we have variables and the array is a list of variables. And we have many statements. A function is having many statements or one statement. It can be one statement doing one task or many statements inside it. And it is doing a specific task. So if the single task was done by 10 statements, so I'm going to put 10 statements inside one function and I'm going to give a name to that function whenever I wanted these 10 statements to be executed. I will call the name of the function and everything will run as there are 10 lines of code here. So this 10 line of code here will be executed exactly in the same place I called the function. Okay, so this is the name function 2. This is the name I gave to it. I can give it the name, let's say task 1, or I can give the name according to the task it is doing. So if it is doing some multiplication, so I'll write void multiplication. You may think about integer main right now. So what's integer main? So integer main is in fact a function, the main function. We said this is the head of the program. So our C++ program should at least have one function, which is the main. It can also have more than one function, which are these functions we have created or we will create after now. So the main function is having a type which is integer and the name which is main, and then these brackets, okay? These curly brackets or braces, I don't know. And how we can create other functions, the type is void and the name of the function, this one is depending on our writing, but the main should be main. We cannot change main into main, let's say, or main2, or main something with other words, or not writing main, let's say writing home instead of main. No, you cannot change the main. There should be a function in the name of main. But the other function names, uh, depends on you totally. Like you can give any name to them. But the structure of the creation, type, name, then two brackets. And then these parentheses will open and close. All the statements should be between the opening and the closing parentheses. So right now, I have distributed these amount of statement into how many functions? The first one main, the second one function2, function3, and then function4. So I have separated them into 4 functions. Okay? Okay, and let's see. Any function should have 4 things: the name, the parameter list, the body, the return type. We'll talk about these things. Let's go to the code and see what we can do. So right now I want to create a, let's say, a function which is doing printing for me. So I'm going to, let's say, write echo cout and say welcome to uh, to new function, and I'm going to give an end line to it. Okay, and I'm going to have another, let's say, another statement the same, and another statement the same. This one will say hello. This one says, let's say, uh, well, nice to see you. Okay, so welcome to new function. Welcome, let's say welcome, hello, and then nice to see you. We have 3 couts. Okay, if I run the program, we will have in the first line welcome, the second line hello, and the third line nice to see you. Now I want this because it's always welcoming texts. So I want to put all these things inside one function. So what I do is something like this. I will write void and I will give a name. So I will say print. So this is a name, a good name for it, or welcome message. Just like the variables, I cannot have a function name which is having composed of 2 words. If there is more than 2 words, there shouldn't be any space between them. Okay? So welcome message, and this is my function, and I'm going to put everything inside it. So I'm going to just copy this or cut them and put it here. So I have a function right now, welcome message, which is composed of 3 lines of statements or codes. And whenever I wanted to use this kind of thing, I am going to directly call the function and semicolon. And that's everything. So what this means is this: the welcome message is composed of 3 lines of code, and it is out of the main function, and it is before the main function it should be run. I mean, it should be written. So all the functions should be written here, and then the main function should be written as the last part of, as the last function. And if I wanted to call any function inside the main, I should call by the name itself. So that's the name of the function. the brackets, and then the semicolon after it. And that's everything. It's like I have these 3 lines of code exactly here. Okay, I will create another function right now. I will say void and let's say farewell. This one is for half easy, let's say. And I will have another cout. Let's say I wished you stayed more, and I'm going to say end line, and I will say have a nice time, another cout, and bye bye. So I have how many lines? Bye bye. How many lines I have? I have 3 lines in the farewell function as well. So I want right now to put the farewell function here as well. Okay, let me clarify this. Any function, if I don't call inside the main, that function will not be executed. So if right now I have welcome message, I have written the welcome message function, the name of the function, then brackets and semicolon. And if I run my program right now, you may see that welcome, hello, nice to see you. But I have the farewell function, but I didn't write it. That's why any function or yeah, any function which is not written inside the main or it is commented inside the main will not be shown to the user. If I have commented this as well, if I run my program, you will not see anything because yes, you have the functions, but you didn't call them. You didn't print them. You didn't take them into the screen. In order to be seen on the screen, in order to tell the compiler to execute these functions, we should call them. This is known as calling function. We should call them inside the main function. Otherwise, they won't be executed at all. Okay, so I have welcome message, and I'm going to give I'm in the main, and I will give an inline here as well. So welcome message. This is a normal statement inside the main, and this is another function which is farewell function. If I run my program right now, so the first part will be the welcome message. This is the welcome message. The second part, I am in the main, and the third part is the farewell. Okay, so it may come to our mind, is it related like welcome message to be written first and then the farewell? No, it's not related. If I copy this farewell and put it before the welcome message, the result is same. The important point is that in the main function, which one is called first? If the welcome message is called first, either the welcome message was the first function you have created or the last function you have created, doesn't matter. What matters is it should be called first in order to be seen first. If I take the farewell before the welcome, so the farewell will run first and then the welcome message will be run second. So these are basic things why we are using functions. We will, like let's say, we'll use functions in more better ways, but this is a very basic thing on how we are using functions and what's the meaning of a normal function. Okay. I can do one more thing. Can I, let's say, call the function more than one time? So this is a question. So is it possible to have welcome message twice? Let's say copy and paste like this. Yes, it is very normal to call the function as much as you like. So it is totally normal to either call the function one time or two times or three times. Or maybe you say, after the farewell function, I will call the welcome message again. So it depends on you totally. This time, welcome, hello, nice to meet you. Welcome, hello, nice to meet you. Then I wish, then hello, welcome, nice to meet you. So according to the number you have repeated the calling of the function, your statements inside that function will be executed and will be shown to the user. Okay, very nice. Okay, let me minimize these. So we have two kind of functions. One of them is user-defined function or custom functions. These are the functions we are creating by our own. Let's say farewell is a function I created right now. Welcome message is a function I created right now. And we have built in functions. Let's say these are functions which are created using previously in the library of the C++. If you remember, we have used it to upper. Oops, to upper. What was the this one is doing? If we had any text inside it, hello, it was making this text to uppercase, and we had a function to lower. What it was doing? It was making all the alphabets of any text given to it into what? Into smaller, into small, let's say not capital, I mean small letters. So these functions, who have written these functions? In fact, these functions are in the library of C++. These are built in, I mean, these are built in the library. These functions are ready for you. Like cout, it's a normal function created for you in the library. So the C++ is composed of a big library which are composed of all these functions accumulated, or let's say uh, all saved in a file or many files inside the library of C++. So you have many functions already built, functions for you may use in the future, functions for, let's say, squaring, functions for power, functions for mathematical equations. These are all built automatically or by the creators of the C++ or by the creators of Visual Studio, and taken these functions are ready for you. Whenever in any place you wanted to use them, you are able to use them because these functions are in the library of the language. Are let's say when the language have been created, these functions became part of the language. Whenever you wanted, you can use them. Okay, you cannot say there was, I'm using let's say C++ language, but there is no cout. I should recreate the cout to print something to the screen. No, cout is being created, is being written for you. So what you should do, you should only use them. But these functions are custom. These are user-defined and doing specific tasks. The creators of C++ are not writing these kind of things for me under the name of farewell or under the name of welcome message. So these are the functions I have created, and these are known as user-defined functions. Okay, so I have these kind of two functions, and I'm going to put it here. And the user-defined function is composed of two parts. Composed of two parts. What are the parts? The first one is return type functions, and the second one is non-return type. non-return type functions. So this one I will say 1 and this one I will say 2. Okay, you see non-return type, just like what? There is, we have used integer main. This integer is the type of the, let's say, we have used it in variables, means that it's an integer value. So we can simply say that the integer main has return 0 and then semicolon. So these kind of functions, the return type functions, should have the return keyword inside their functions. Integer main, the functions which are starting with int are known as return type functions. What are the what does it include? Any function starting with integer, any function starting with double, or the type of the function was double, string, boolean, and char maybe, yeah, char, and what else we have? Float. So any functions, the first keyword before the name started with these kind of stuff, integer, double, string, boolean, char, float. These functions are known as a return type. They should have return keyword inside the function to give a result to the output. You can think of return type functions as as an example of, let's say, when you are going to a shop of, let's say, juices and stuff, you are telling the guy to give you uh, let's say an orange juice. So he will put the orange inside the machine and, let's say, do all the operations on the orange and stuff, and it will give you a result. You don't need the orange stuff and you don't need anything. What you need is only the juice thing. Okay, so whenever we needed only the one part, one thing inside a function, I'm using return. I'm saying return this thing I want. I don't care about other things, other stuff. Okay, but whenever the case was not like that, I needed everything, or I needed, let's say, all the statements are doing some job for me. So at that time, I'm going to use non-return type functions. I hope it is clear. So these are return type functions. Let's create a non-return type functions and let's see what is the difference. Okay, now I will have an integer, the the return type function, okay, and the name is calculation, and what it does do, it will let's say it will have a variable integer a equals to 5, and it will return 5. Okay, so this calculation is doing, let's say, not only a integer b equals to 6, and I'm going to say a plus b. So this return will return 5 and 6, the summation of both of them, and write it just like the welcome message here. So I will have the, let's say, I have the welcome message. No, I don't need it. Or maybe I want to decrease only one line. Yes. And the farewell as well. And this is, yeah, I wish you stay more. Okay. So I will say this one is bye-bye. And this one is welcome. I will delete the others. Okay. So this was the farewell and this was the welcome. And what does it do? It is doing calculation or calculating a plus b and returns the value of a plus b to the main function. How I can call it? Exactly the same. I'm going to call it just by the name with the bracket. But there is a problem here. You see, I didn't see out anything inside the calculation. So there's no C out. I didn't write any C out. It's not a must to write cout or not write cout. It depends on you totally. But here I didn't write any cout. So whenever I'm calling it, I should write cout and then put the function inside the cout, because when it returns, it will not show anything if I don't put it inside the cout. Okay, let's delete it first. Let's run the program first. Let's see without writing it inside the cout, what's the result? And if I write the calculation function inside the cout, what will be the result? Okay, welcome, bye-bye. I didn't see any calculations. I didn't see a plus b, which should be 11. So why is that? Because I didn't put it inside a cout. So I'm going to put it inside a cout. Cout calculation. The name of the function is true? Yes. Okay, and when I run it right now, I have welcome 11, then bye-bye. So I will write an end line after it just to make it more readable. I have welcome, which is the welcome message. I have welcome, which is the welcome message. I have the calculation, which is 5 plus 6. I have created outside of the main. It has a return type. It's an integer, and it has a return type. So it will return just like the orange juice. It doesn't care about either having A or B. You don't know where it have been created and what was the original, let's say, variables created this. You don't care about it. What you care about was the last result it returned. So the oranges. You don't care how many oranges have been used to create for your juice. What's important for you? A cup of orange juice. Okay, so what's important for you? The value which has been returned. Okay, so cout calculation, we got 11, and then we have bye bye. Okay, I hope this clear.